In recent days, an unmistakable sense of unease has settled over the United Kingdom. Subtle signals from the palace, a noticeable shift in tone from royal aides, and growing media speculation have fueled one pressing question. Is the monarchy facing another defining moment? At the center of this growing concern stands King Charles III, whose serious demeanor and carefully worded public statements have left many wondering whether crisis talks are quietly unfolding behind palace walls. While no official declaration has labeled the situation a crisis, the combination of heightened security, urgent meetings, and the king's unusually grave tone has captured national attention. For a monarchy built on tradition, continuity, and calm reassurance, even subtle changes can speak volumes. A palace atmosphere that feels different. Royal watchers have long noted that Buckingham Palace often communicates as much through silence as it does through words. This time, however, the silence itself feels louder. Reports suggest that senior advisors, constitutional experts, and trusted aides have been meeting more frequently than usual. These gatherings, though routine in structure, appear to carry a greater sense of urgency. Sources close to royal circles describe an atmosphere that is focused, deliberate, and serious. This has led to widespread speculation that the king is preparing for a moment of national significance, possibly an address intended to steady public confidence during uncertain times. The British public has lived through years of historic change: the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the transition to a new monarch, political uncertainty, and evolving public expectations of the royal family. Against this backdrop, any sign of concern from the palace resonates deeply. King Charles has always been known for his thoughtful, measured approach. Unlike dramatic gestures, his leadership style favors reflection, dialogue, and careful wording. That is precisely why his recent serious tone has caused such widespread discussion. When a monarch known for calm deliberation appears visibly concerned, people listen. The weight of a king's address. An address from the monarch is never casual. Historically, royal addresses are reserved for moments of national importance, times when reassurance, unity, and clarity are needed. Even the suggestion that such an address may be forthcoming naturally heightens public anxiety and curiosity. Observers have noted that King Charles's recent appearances have carried a tone of gravity rarely seen since his accession. While he continues to fulfill his duties with dignity, the emotional weight behind his words feels heavier, prompting many to ask whether he is preparing the nation for difficult realities ahead. The term crisis talks can be misleading. In royal terms, it does not always signal disaster. Often, it reflects proactive governance, anticipating challenges before they escalate. These discussions may involve constitutional responsibilities, public trust, or long-term planning for the stability of the monarchy. Royal historians remind us that the crown has endured centuries of upheaval, precisely because it plans carefully during quieter moments. What appears to be a crisis may, in fact, be a strategic effort to preserve continuity and public confidence. Public reaction: concern, curiosity, and loyalty. Across social media and traditional news outlets, public reaction has been swift and emotional. Many express concern for the king himself, particularly given ongoing conversations around health, leadership pressure, and the weight of the crown. Others emphasize trust, voicing confidence that King Charles will guide the nation with honesty and responsibility. This blend of worry and loyalty underscores the unique bond between the monarchy and the people. The king's role is not merely ceremonial, it is deeply symbolic. His emotional state, therefore, becomes a mirror for national sentiment. Unlike previous eras, today's monarchy exists under constant public scrutiny. Every appearance, pause, and phrase is analyzed in real time. King Charles must navigate not only tradition, but also modern expectations of transparency and empathy. This balancing act is no small task. Addressing the nation requires choosing words that reassure without alarming, acknowledge challenges without amplifying fear, and uphold dignity while remaining relatable. It is a responsibility that few can truly understand. Lessons from history. History offers perspective during moments like this. Past monarchs have faced wars, political crises, and societal shifts far greater than those of today. Each time, the crown adapted, not by reacting impulsively, but by speaking carefully and acting deliberately. King Charles, a student of history himself, is acutely aware of these precedents. Any serious address he delivers will likely be shaped by lessons learned from generations before him. At present, there is no confirmed timetable for a formal address. The palace continues to emphasize stability and continuity, urging the public not to jump to conclusions. Still, the heightened attention suggests that something meaningful is unfolding, even if it remains behind closed doors. Whether the king ultimately addresses the nation or allows his actions to speak instead, one truth remains clear. This is a moment of reflection for the monarchy and the country alike. A nation waiting for reassurance. In times of uncertainty, people look to familiar institutions for reassurance. The monarchy, for all its evolution, remains one of those anchors. King Charles' seriousness, rather than signaling weakness, may reflect a deep sense of responsibility, a recognition that leadership requires honesty, calm, and moral clarity. As Bran watches and waits, there is a shared hope that any message from the king will bring unity rather than division, reassurance rather than fear. The question remains, are crisis talks truly underway, or is this simply the careful preparation of a conscientious monarch? Perhaps it is a combination of both. What is certain is that King Charles understands the weight of his role and the power of his words. Until clarity emerges, the nation remains attentive, respectful, and hopeful, ready to listen when the king speaks. As the palace doors remain closed and official words remain carefully measured, one thing is undeniable. The nation is watching more closely than ever. In moments like this, silence itself becomes a message, one that invites reflection, concern, and countless questions. When the monarch appears serious, the public instinctively senses that something important is unfolding, even if it cannot yet be fully explained. For King Charles III, leadership has never been about dramatic gestures or sudden declarations. His approach has always leaned toward patience, responsibility, and thoughtful preparation. That is why this moment feels different. The gravity seen in his recent expressions, the careful tone of palace communications, and the growing attention around internal discussions all point to a period of deep consideration rather than impulsive action. This does not necessarily mean disaster lies ahead. History reminds us that the strongest leadership often happens quietly, long before a problem reaches the public eye. What some interpret as crisis may in truth be foresight. The monarchy has endured precisely because it prepares, reflects, and adapts when times demand seriousness rather than spectacle. Still, uncertainty carries weight. For many across the country, the king represents stability in an ever-changing world. When that symbol appears burdened, it naturally stirs emotion. Families discuss it at dinner tables. Viewers pause during news broadcasts. Social media fills with speculation, concern, and above all, hope that reassurance will come. If an address to the nation does arrive, it will not be delivered lightly. Such moments are chosen carefully, shaped by tradition and responsibility. And when those words are spoken, they will be intended not to alarm, but to steady, to remind people that leadership remains present, attentive, and committed to the country's well-being. Until then, Britain waits. Not with panic, but with quiet anticipation, waiting to understand what lies behind the serious expressions and closed-door meetings, waiting for clarity, context, and calm reassurance. In times like these, patience becomes a shared national act. What matters most is not speculation, but trust. Trust that the king understands the emotional bond between the crown and the people. Trust that decisions are being guided by duty rather than pressure. And trust that whatever challenges may exist, they are being met with care, experience, and respect for the nation's future. As history has shown time and again, the monarchy's strength lies not in denying difficult moments, but in facing them with dignity. Whether this period becomes a defining chapter or simply a footnote in a long reign, it reflects a monarch deeply aware of the responsibility he carries. For now, the palace remains still, the nation remains attentive, and the world watches quietly. And when the time is right, when words are ready to be spoken, they will carry the weight of a crown that understands the power of reassurance. Until that moment comes, one thing is certain: Britain is listening.